Jay Ellis. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I don't know. You were nice on the basketball court. I want to talk about that collegiate background for the uninformed. When did you start playing, and why was that the sport for you? Why was that the sport that you chose?
Yeah, I don't think I knew it was a sport for me. I mean, I grew up in that time watching Jordan play, so like I fell in love with basketball watching Mike, and that was like everything that drove me, and his work ethic and his swag, and like seeing Spike Lee direct Nike commercials. Like it was this amazing moment in time, and then I had this growth spurt between 7th and 8th grade where I grew 3.5 inches, something like that, and everybody was like, "You got to play basketball." And of course, I started playing and I was like Bambi. Like I couldn't stand upright, I couldn't catch a ball, I couldn't do anything, but I was so in love with it, I just threw myself into it. And fortunately, by the time I got to high school, I was pretty decent and I got a chance to go play in college. I think now when I look back on my college career, I've so many life lessons. I feel like going to work on set every day is like going to practice or like going to a game. Like, everyone has a role to play and everyone is so vital and so important. And there's a captain of the team. In this case, on running point, it's Kate Hudson. And, our head coaches, are Mindy and Ike and Dave Stassen. And like, they're running, we're running their offense. And there's so many lessons that I feel like I've pulled from one to the other. And so to be able to pull on that real life experience on a show like this has been so much fun. I will say though, when I got the call to play the coach, I was a little disappointed because I was like, I still could go. I don't know if y'all know, but I'm nice. I'm still nice. I play every Wednesday. Like I still can go.
What's funny is I was going to ask you about that. I was going to say now, see, when we've seen you show up in projects that centered around sports, you're the athlete, and this one, you're the coach. I was gonna ask what that feels like and what you think that's communicating to you right now at this point in your career. Those are young coaches.
Mindy was like, give it up. Mindy was like,
give
it up. Mindy was like, give it up, Jay. Nah, what's funny is, here's what I think is interesting. There are some young coaches, and we talked about this. Like, I think this is a guy who probably could have played a couple more seasons, but he chose, he has a family, and so he chose to step away and to retire, and then obviously get into coaching, which, he's a very young coach. This is a guy who probably would have been an assistant for a very long time before he got this job, but we're talking about a year or two out of retiring. He's now the head coach of a team that he once played for. And so, you see me do the pull-ups, you see me in the gym shooting around, he's still got it. So I do think there is something to that because I think there's still a fire in him and there's still a work ethic and there's still a competitiveness to him, which now he's just gonna bring to this team in a different way. Just saying, I know these guys and I know how they act.
Oh, and you're telling me to just smile and take it?
No, but we can't afford any more missteps this season, and there are other less volatile ways to get the same result.
Since this is in some ways familiar territory for you before, because you have played in the world of sports, in television series, what is it about that world that makes for such compelling storytelling? Like, why does that work so well for you in your estimation?
I think there's a couple things. We love sports, right? I mean, as a culture, worldwide, whatever your sport is, there are a lot of people around the world who watch a sport, fall in love with the team, identify with players, and we hold them up on such a pedestal, and we know their stories and what they've gone through. And for these franchises or these teams that we love, we know their story and their history. I think the thing that's fun is when you get to pull the curtain back and see what happens behind the scenes of all these organizations. If it's NFL, we just see Sunday. If it's NBA, we just see, a couple of nights a week and then in the playoffs. Like, we don't really see everything that happens on the practice court or in the front office when decisions are being made. And there's a lot of human emotions going on. There's a lot, you're dealing with a team of people plus management. There's a lot of people who have conflicting interests and ambitions. There's purity, there's selfishness, there's all kinds of things. And that world is also constantly ever changing, right? Like, we're always engaging and locking in with these people who we get to watch on our televisions every single week. And I think even if you didn't play a sport, I think if you watch, we all believe that we all want to believe that we could do what some of these athletes do. we all believe that we can manage a team or coach a team. My NFL fantasy is crazy. Like, I think I'm the best GM on the planet. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like, I don't understand why some of these teams can't get it right, because I'm doing great. But like, I think we all have this belief that we can do it a little bit, and it's fun to see that play out.
Yeah, and in this series in particular, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I really enjoyed binging this in one fell swoop. It was a delicious experience. But one thing that I found myself thinking about is, I know that you also spent some time working for the Portland Trailblazers during a pretty headline-grabbing time, and I felt like that was some interesting synergy for you to now have this role all these years later. Did that, help build this story? Did that show up at all, even in how you approached the what we see happening with this fictional LA team?
Yeah, for sure. So I did that internship my last year in college for the Trailblazers, and it was the 2003 season, and they were called the Jailblazers that year. A moniker maybe they didn't deserve, but at the same time there was some behavior that was going on. But what I thought was interesting, I was in the PR department, so we dealt with all of it in terms of the media's perception of it and how it was being reported, and then how the team had to put out statements and react to and respond to what was happening. And I remember having to write a statement for Coach Mo Cheeks, who had played in the NBA, was a veteran, was loved, and is now coaching this team through this season. I remember having to write a statement that he was gonna have to read, and thinking, like, I, as a 21-year-old kid, have no idea what I'm talking about, what I'm doing, what a statement even is. Like, I don't know why but it's interesting, like, I think now, and like, seeing his composure and how he carried himself through that season and everything that he carried on his shoulders for that team, and then getting to like bring that to this show, I do think there is some, like, some art imitating life a little bit, because I got to witness that and be a part of that, and now I get to bring that to this show, obviously in a comedic way and in the tone that Mindy and Dave and Ike have created, but I get to bring that to this story, and it's a lot of fun.
How did this role come to you, and what made you say yes in the first place?
I had worked with Ike and Dave on History of the World, and I played Jesus on History of the World for Ike and Dave.
Yes, you did.
You know what I'm saying? Mel Brooks himself walked up to me one day and said, "Thank you, Jesus." And I was like, Mel Brooks, this is crazy. No, but while we were filming that, Ike and Dave told me about it. They told me that they had, sold the show and they were writing it, and that there was a role that they had specifically written for me, and they were like, it's even named after you. It's Coach Jay. Like, it is, we want you to come play this role. And the strike happened, so obviously, there was some time in between, and they weren't able to write. And then once the strike ended, they got back in the writer's room, and Mindy and Ike both called me. We had a long conversation about it, and I read it and fell in love, and I was in. Like, anything, I'm a basketball junkie, so like, anytime someone says sports to me, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. But it was also just a fun thing. I have watched Kate for years, as many of us have, and like, the opportunity to work with her, the opportunity to get to work with friends in Ike and Mindy and Dave, to meet some of this new cast, like, it was something that I was really excited about.
And I think it's so smart, the timing of when this show is dropping in the back half of the NBA season, after All-Star weekend, essentially. Talk to me about that, because it also feels like, I think people are going to watch this and say, I wonder if this storyline is inspired by this occurrence or this player or this situation. But it does feel, very like tangible, I think, in a lot of ways. And then it drops in the midst of the NBA season. I would love to hear you talk a little bit about that timing, because that's kind of fun, I would think.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I think, I'm such a basketball fanatic, and I'm always looking for supplemental basketball content. Like, I'm always looking for, like, what else can I watch? And obviously I love television, and to be able to watch a series that's loosely based on a franchise that we all know, and the the workplace comedy version of that, dropping at this time, where, like, the second half of usually post All-Stars, like, when, like, everybody is watching basketball, football, like, everybody's watching basketball. So I think the timing on Netflix's part is genius, to be quite honest with you. But to your point, I think also we know these franchises and these stories so inside and out that, like, people are gonna constantly be like, oh, that's when this happened, or that's when that happened, or this is a play on that, or this is a play on that. And I think that's the fun thing about sports and telling these stories. To your question earlier, like, we're connected to those things. We know when those things happen because they affect us in some way or they shock the sports world in some way. And to get to see the comedic version of that is a lot of fun. To see what it could have been like on the inside while that incident happened is a lot of fun. And with characters you care about and you love. And you know, I don't have siblings, but if you have siblings, like I'm sure you will latch on to this sibling dynamic that Isla and Ness and Sandy have.
I know Cam's choice came as a surprise, but I can't do this without you guys.
Sis, we got your back.
Thank you.
Yeah, no matter what people say, we got you.
What are they saying?
Don't go on Reddit unless you want to kill yourself.
What?
No,
Yeah.
it's
The
not
internet
really?
is forever.
It's okay, it's okay. Just about the fact that you're a Nepo baby and you don't know what you're doing, but you're old, so it's like you're like a Nepo crone.
Oh my God.
It doesn't matter, okay? It's
Do
garbage.
I look that old?
Nobody cares. The point is, we got you.
You know, you're as an outsider, if you don't have siblings like me, like you're Coach Brown and you're on the outside, like watching this train wreck run this organization, and you just want to do your job every day.
I take it Sephora saw the Travis video.
Yeah, and now I must kill him.
But whoa, that's your plan?
No, I'm going to scream at him in front of everybody, dehumanize him, and then I will force him to make a public apology.
Okay, so I see you're running things from the Jack Gordon playbook.
Hey, he won a lot of championships screaming at people.
And then I love too, at least with the first episode, that there's a buy-in, you know, because Jenny, you know, Buss is a producer on the first episode. So I was like, okay, we can relax and have a good time and watch the series now because we know she's in on the fun of this series.
Yeah. I mean, the authenticity is there, right? Like you get Jeannie, you get and Linda Rambis, and like, you know, the authenticity is there. You know that like whatever is happening in this show is gonna be the comedic version of it, but there's still gonna be truth in it because like you are getting it from the experts who do it every single day for one of the most storied franchises of all sports in the world. And you know, to get the cosign from Jeannie is pretty amazing.
Again, love seeing you show up in this series, especially in the aftermath. Speaking of franchises of a different sort, your big moment, you know, in Top Gun Maverick a few years ago, you know, how did that change the types of roles that you want to take on, you know, after that really kind of big moment for you? What did that do for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you get to work with Tom Cruise, you're forever changed. I think, you know, I thought I worked hard. And then I met Tom Cruise. And then I was like, oh, I need to work harder. Or I aspire to work like that. I aspire to have that knowledge, that film. He's encyclopedia. He's like an encyclopedia when it comes to film, when it comes to DPs, when it comes to directors, when it comes to, you know, producers. Like he can tell you, run back in history and tell you stuff. And I think, you know, when you work with someone like that, it really does change how you look at all of it. It makes you think of it completely differently. And I think it makes you pick roles differently. It makes you think what you can bring to a role differently. Obviously working with Jerry Bruckheimer, who's one of the most storied producers in Hollywood history. Like it's, again, same thing with him and Joe Kosinski, who's a visionary in his own right as a director. And, you know, getting to work with that creative team, Christopher McQuarrie, I mean, you know, getting to work with that creative team, I think it really changes the bar for you. Not every offer is the thing you should take. Not every script you read is the one you should chase. And being able to like analyze that and understand that, I think is what I really took away from that moment. Like really being able to look at material in a way and be like, oh, I am focused on the things that I love, the things that bring me joy, the characters that I find interesting, working with friends when I can, but really keeping my eyes on a prize and kind of focusing on this craft and this art that I get to do every day.
But let's also give you space to pop your own collar too, because you're also a director as well. And I'm curious how that shows up for you in the work that you do in front of the camera, especially on a series like this with the creators, the behind the scenes creators that you mentioned, like Mindy and Ike, but also working with Kate Hudson. Like, how does that show up in, you know, Jay Ellis, the actor?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I wish I could turn that brain off sometimes when I'm acting. I definitely think about camera movement. I think about lenses. I think about, you know, understanding every director comes in is slightly different, right? Some directors are coming in and they want to nail a shot and they need you to basically land inside that shot. Some directors are coming in and they're saying, hey, the camera's going to follow you wherever you move, so you go be free. And so I think in understanding our directors and what they're looking for in a given moment, in a given scene, in a given shot, I think it allows me to understand it a little faster, so I can land in there. And then once I know my guardrails, I can go play. And I can go just be fully locked in and be synced in. And I think that's the thing that I feel like having directed has brought into my work as an actor, is really understanding the guardrails in which someone is working, and then now knowing that I can just go play in that sandbox as much as I want. I don't know that I thought that that's what I would have walked away with from that experience in directing. But I'm very grateful for it.
When are we gonna see you do this again, direct?
Oh, well, we'll see. I think I'm really focused on acting right now. I will direct again. I will. I think the next thing I will direct will be a feature. There's a script that I've been circling for a while, but I'm really focused right now. Obviously I'm a part of Running Point, and then I have a movie coming out in April called Freaky Tales, and another series in the back half of the year, and I'm gonna do a play this summer in New York. So I've just really been focused on performing right now. I think that is the fullness that I get from that. It drives me and it wakes me up every single day and just keeps me going. So that's kind of been my focus, but I'll definitely get behind the camera again, no doubt.
A lot of stuff coming up, man. And you play basketball on Wednesdays.
Hey, come on. You don't wanna, I'm trying to tell you, they don't know. They might take me next season. They might be like, hey, coach, we need you to get in the game.
That would not be the craziest storyline, I don't think, that we could possibly see. I don't want to give anything away for people who watch this series, but I know, like me, they're also going to binge it once they start watching it. Do we think that coach is going to be around for a little bit?
I don't know. It's such a hard decision, right? It's such a tough place to be in. It's stakes on both sides. There's real emotional stakes on both sides and professional stakes on both sides. And so, I think it is a tough situation that he is in. I'll say selfishly, I want whatever the messiest version of it is, because that's gonna be the most fun version. Whatever the messiest version of it is gonna be the funnest version. But I think, what you're talking about, what you're kind of referencing, I think these characters have to really figure out who they are in this world and this new world that is now around them, and how they are finding themselves in the world and what that means personally and professionally.
Yeah, I love that. And I love all the projects that you have coming up. I want you to get a nap at some point though, because
I don't sleep.
Clearly.
I don't get tired. As Denzel Washington once said in He Got Game, we don't get tired. You don't get tired.
We don't get tired. Jay Ellis, I never get tired of talking to you. So thank you so much for doing this today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.
You too.